Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Shadows of the Moon. Episode 5. Chapter 46 to 56. Raven. I felt awful. Zach had told me what had happened. I didn't mean to make matters worse, but I had. I padded up the stairs in wolf form before entering the bathroom and grabbing a towel. Reaching beneath the cabinet, I slid my bedroom key out and trudged down the hall to my bedroom. Unlocking the door, I entered feeling exhausted. However, I had asked Robin for help tonight and I needed to go visit her too. I quickly told Zach that Taylor was okay. He seemed relieved and thanked me. I hoped they managed to sort this problem out. I groaned, getting dressed quickly in underwear, sweatpants, and a ribbed vest top. I grabbed the book, shoved it into the bag and headed to Robin's room. I knocked on her door, hearing music from inside the room. Despite the soundproof walls, you could still faintly make out the sounds. She opened it pretty quick, dressed in yoga pants and a crop top. She really was gorgeous. I couldn't really blame Damon when he's stuck with a wallflower like me for a mate. One who hadn't even been there for him. Once again the difference between what I felt for them both niggled at me and I pushed the thought away. I know I was beginning to self-hate again, as I did years ago, but I couldn't help it. I felt guilty about my feelings, for being the cause of the rift between both of them. Hey, Raven. Hi. I hope I'm not too late. I got caught up. I said apologetically. Not at all, I was just finishing off some assignments. Take a seat. She closed the door behind me. I placed the bag down and sat on the edge of her bed. Damon said we could trust you. I said nervously. She nodded and crossed her arms, but I felt as if something was slightly off. Of course, what did you guys need me to check? She asked, her tone sounding slightly clipped. It's a prophecy, I said, taking the book out and flipping the book open for her. She came over and took the book from me, sitting down. What is this? It's about the Deimos bloodline, the Westwood heritage. I explained. There's a curse, and it's about Liam. I frowned when she tensed at the mention of Liam. Is everything okay, Robin? Of course. She replied, staring at me with those gorgeous brown eyes of hers. You got a little. You seem a bit tense. She looked down at the book, before glancing at me, sighing. I won't lie or hide it. Everyone knows you and Liam spent the last 2 nights together. Isn't Damon your mate? She asked, almost protectively. Oh, he is, I said, nibbling on my bottom lip. This was no longer a secret, the number of people who were beginning to find out was growing. It's both Liam and Damon. They're both my mates. Her eyes widened and she stared at me stunned. I waited for her to say something, but she just blinked, looking shocked. Oh. I didn't see that coming. That's why you two aren't together. That's why he and Liam are at odds, yet. I said, glad she understood it. She gave me a small smile. Sorry if I came off a little funny. It's just, she looked sad and shook her head, changing her mind. I'm sorry. It's okay, I'm glad you at least care for him. I said gently. She simply nodded, although I knew she had more questions, she didn't voice them. Okay. I'll tell you about the Deimos curse, and then you can read the prophecy. I said before I began to explain everything to her. She listened carefully, looking through my notes before skimming through the book, as I talked. I filled her in on the card as well. Turning the page, she looked at the paragraph that contained the prophecy itself. So the promise of the sun is Helios's curse, and the wish they speak of is Selene's, so the birth of Kiera and Liam weakened the curse. My eyes widened. I missed that part. That surely means there's hope. Oh. Yes, and then it says from light and darkness itself. The blessed wolf and the royal prince are born. Only then giveth the gift of breaking the curse, I mused. Wait, the royal prince is born. There has to be more here. Kiera is a blessed wolf, but what makes Alpha Liam a royal prince? Would all the Westwoods be considered princes? Robin asked. My heart thundered. I don't know, that's what we need to find out first. Why is he called the royal prince? She said, tapping the book with her long nails. Giveth the gift. So there's something that's been given in some form to break this curse. Interesting. How do we find more answers? I asked, feeling so dumb right now. She seemed to understand it a lot better. Let's see, this book must have something. When the light gives birth to a. It's a 3-letter word, sun maybe. She squinted, holding the book up to the light. I nodded. That's what we assumed too, so Liam has a lot less time. I said, feeling that worry settle into the pit of my stomach. The darkness will reign through the veins of the Deimos prince. Find the key within the darkness to break the curse. It keeps saying, within and given, it's going to be something obvious, but I think there's definitely something that makes Alpha Liam a prince. Robin said, looking at me. I nodded slowly, mulling over what she said. I'll have a think. Is it okay for me to hold on to this book and see if there's anything else I can pick up if I actually look through it? She asked. Sure, but please keep it hidden away. I said. And thanks for your time, Robin, I appreciate it. No problem. She said, and I stood up, taking up the card and my notebook. Slipping them back into my bag, I exited her room. Feeling a little peckish, I decided to go check the kitchen for any food. I quickly put the bag in my room before heading downstairs. I entered the kitchen, the fresh scent of citrus detergent filled my nose and I inhaled it, going over to the fridge when Damon's voice came into my head. Liam, Raven, the hot chocolate was fine, there was no poison in it or the milk. He said quietly. I frowned. He didn't sound normal. And the pills? Liam asked. There was wolfsbane, silver, and ricin in one of her pills. He said, his voice sounding strained. The glass juice bottle that I had just taken out of the fridge slipped from my grasp, shattering as it hit the tiled floor, splashing orange all over. My heart was hammering as I stood there frozen. Goddess! Liam cursed. If you two didn't. Thanks, guys, Damon murmured. The same thing was going through all our minds. What if I hadn't heard the back door? What if Liam hadn't said to search? Chapter 47. Amora. Nicholas' deep blue dragon flew me home. His wings were so powerful, using them sparingly as he slid through the trees of our home. His swift leathered wings were the fastest of our tribe besides Adam. Nicholas had become my best companion since Creed was exiled from the tribe. He consoled me when Adam was too busy speaking with the elders of rules and guidelines in Creed's exile. Nicholas was actually new to the tribe then, only moved in because he could not find his mate, but we obviously hit it off nicely. We were instantly close. I felt he could feel my dragon's sorrow when my spirit brother was no longer with me. Creed and Adam were the closest things I had to a family before my blood family passed away in a vampire spat. At the same time, they traveled across the pride lands of the Moon Kingdom. They had made various trinkets, beauty potions that the jaguars, panthers, and cheetah females like to decorate themselves with. The rogue vampires came out of nowhere, and my parents and elder siblings had told me to fly to get away from the crossfire while they fought. I watched from above as my family died slowly until I finally left, not watching them feed off their bodies. I felt helpless then. My guilt racked my chest until I stumbled upon Creed and Adam's tribe when I was just 10 years old. We became a trio. I lived down the mountain with another Fae family, but only there to sleep. The day was spent with my friends and my close relationships with the tribe. As we grew older together, the stark differences became apparent when the accident appeared. Creed's mother was beside herself as she watched Creed slowly heal over the months. My heart ached for Creed, and Adam's guilt seemed genuine. They never played or sparred together after that, not that I blame either of them. Splitting my time with them was my next step. I didn't want to force them together as much as their mother asked me to help. Adam's guilt, which I thought was guilt at the time, was too strong. Now, I fear there was much more to that guilt. Once Adam turned 18, time for him to find his mate. His urge to stay near me grew more assertive. I had an inclining he was my mate, but then 2 years later, on my birthday, I was unable to honestly know. He had dragged me out of my tent with my adoptive Fae family and took me high into the mountains, where he made a nest just for us. As much as I wanted the night to be unique, to make love to my mate, it was not as I imagined. In fact, I feel my mind had blackened most of the night out. The following day, I felt the bond, the pull towards Adam. I also felt the bruises in my sore body. Adam's profuse apology only had me forgiving him far too quickly. I was young, naive, and was left in the dark for many years about how a dragon should mate with their mate. Now that I see Creed care for his mate as he does, my world has been shattered. I fear Adam is not my true mate, and my heart shatters at the thought. My weak dragon only purrs in my chest when I think these thoughts loud enough for her to hear. Alpha Amora, Alpha Adam wishes to speak with you, a warrior strode up to Nicholas Dragon, helping me down. Thank you, Nicholas, spend the day around the Light Kingdom, see if you can find your mate, I pet his forehead gently with my hand. A sign of significant friendship. He bows and slithers away into the woods. Adam's and I's tent was more extensive than most of the tribe. It held beautiful furs, clothing, and jewels. All of it was for me to wear, but my dragon did not like to accept such extravagant gifts. She was looking for something more, and maybe my heart was too. My love, Adam held out his arms, embracing me. The pull I had towards Adam kept me there while wrapping my arms around him. My dragon recoiled in my chest, not enjoying the contact. Did the elders heal you quickly? Adam's abdomen was completely healed, no scarring, and not the slightest touch made him wince. They did, but it was not that bad. He shook his head, pouring himself a drink on the side table. I'm sorry to send you off. I didn't want you to have to see my wounds and worry you. But I worried, I half lied. Anytime Adam was hurt, he refused my help to clean him, dress him, and help with wounds that could take days to heal. He opted to go to the elders, who have perfected a special potion for dragons. I've asked many times to train me to be of some help during battles, but I was always denied. Part of me is glad you did so. Adam's forehead met mine. Sing it gently. He was so sweet to me, cradled me like a fledgling at night. His love was undeniable towards me, and for a long time, I felt the same. Now my passion has weakened, seeing him oppress his half-brother. The lies he has told the tribe so easily only make me believe he could lie to me just the same. I wiped my dress off the invisible dirt and went to fluff the pillows so he could rest, beckoning him to come to sit with me. Maybe I was overreacting? Perhaps there was more to the story? Adam sat down, his hand running over my stomach. Sorry I have been gone so long. Since Orion and Willa's ceremony, I have paid little attention to you these past few weeks. The South is under turmoil, and dealing with vampires and rogue witches had me preoccupied. Adam's nose trailed down my neck, his tongue licking my lightly colored mark. How is the fledgling? My body stiffened. Adam truly has been gone, which may be why my dragon had been so cold towards him. What's wrong? Your dragon will not address mine. Voice laced with concern, his eyes softened, pulling my chin towards his face. I'm sorry, warm tears filled my eyes. My heart sunk. One job as a CO Alpha was to help produce an heir, and this had been my third time miscarrying a baby. Adam's hand balled into a fist, hitting his knee. Gods, Amora, why didn't you tell me? His voice cracked. I could have been there for you, comforted you. My face turned, my dragon was not receptive in the slightest. Could my dragon be rejecting his seed? You were gone when I bled. I didn't want to send word over it. Adam's throat bobbed. Something I found so attractive, now I don't know anymore. It's all right, he cleared his throat. We can try again, and I will talk to the elders. Maybe the potion and salve they make to heal me could help. I nodded my head, threading my fingers through his. Maybe so. Giving a sad smile. I wish to stay with you, my love, but I must go meet with Elder Nao. I must inform him and the rest to take word to both Light and Moon kingdoms of Creed's betrayal. A powerful dragon like him will need the most warriors to take him down. Adam rubbed my belly again. Kay, sing it gently. We will figure this out, don't you worry. I love you, Amora. Always know that. I love you too, I whispered. Adam walked to the opening of the tent. He gave me one more smile. Wait, Adam, he hummed, turning his pointed chin towards me. He could make me weak in the knees, the bond we shared, and my body pulled for him so hard, but why was my heart so tricky? Are you sure this is the only way? It just doesn't seem like Creed. This was his last chance. He had to stop this. All this warning, all this pleading with him, and now I was on my knees begging him to give me some sort of sign. Be the dragon I want you to be, spill the truth to me, and I would make my heart love you willfully. There is no other way, my love. Creed has made his bed, so he must lie in it. Adam left the tent, taking his decision with him. Now I realized I must choose sides and it would not be the one with my mate. Changing clothes, I put on simple leathers. Throwing a small bag of clothing and essentials over my shoulder and put the giant emerald jewel on the nightstand. It was my favorite, the one I was given the following day of our mating. It would only be a reminder of lies my life had been for over 30 years. Stepping out of the tent, many dragons walked along the paths of their jobs. Many washed clothes in the steaming pond, and others cooked over the open bonfire. I was fooled for so many years, and many dragons here are the same. My dragon perked up within my chest, pulling me toward the archives. The archives were held for alphas and the elders only. I've had no reason to enter, and I've never been told not to. Pulling the bag over my back more comfortably, I walked to archives as if I owned the place. Not looking suspicious was more complicated than it looked, now knowing that I was going to betray not only that of my alpha, my mate but my tribe. Many dragons bowed to me as I walked by, doing the same, keeping my usual smile on my face. I walked to the back door of the archives. This building differed significantly from what WE lived in. It was made of entire trees of logs, crushed rock, and wood. It has stood for longer than I remember and could have been many centuries before that. Pushing the back door, a hand catches my wrist. Gasping, another hand covers my mouth. "You look like a fledgling going in for the sponge cake," the chuckle made me sigh. Turning around and smacking Nicholas on the shoulder, he pretended to be hurt. "Shh, you can't do that," I hissed. Nicholas' brows furrowed, watching me go into the archives. "Here." Nicholas closed the door behind me with a slam. "Will you be quiet? For a swift, quiet flyer, you sure are loud on the ground." My dragon hissed, but it was playful. Rubbing my chest, I walked down the long table, glancing at the papers in front of each chair. "What are you doing?" I signed, gently placing my hand on the table. "Nicholas, you have to make a choice. You may break your oath, and I would never think less of you." Nicholas' eyes filled with hurt continued to listen. That's what was so wonderful about him, he listened to every word I said and stuck his opinion in when needed. "Because if you decide to stay, you will betray Alpha Adam along with the tribe." Nicholas' eyes hardened. "I won't break my oath," he spat without a hint of hesitation. "You are my Alpha, and you are the one I would follow." My hidden smile came forward, lunging at him, burying my head in his chest. He calmed my dragon more than Adam ever had. Nicholas' hand brushed my hair, his mouth touching my hair. I swear it was AKSS that made my heart flutter delightfully fast. Clearing my throat, I pushed him away. "Thank you. I appreciate your loyalty." "Anytime." Nicholas' biceps bulged while crossing his arms. Looking away quickly, I went to the shelves, looking for anything to help me. "What are you looking for?" Nicholas pressed, looking at the shelves above me. "Anything to expose the lies." He stiffened, pulling me back from the shelf. "You believe Adam is lying too about Creed?" I nodded my head. "I think I've known for a while, but the bond makes you do crazy things," I sniffed. Nicholas walked down the years displayed on the shelving, finally pulling a dusty book. "I think this is where it started." The year marked was the year of Adam and I's mating. It was held by a lock that needed a key. Instead of looking for a key to unlock the book, Nicholas ripped the spine, spreading papers to the floor. "We aren't going back." "Who cares if we make a mess?" He shrugged his shoulders. Internally, I cringed. It was becoming so real. Nicholas only looked at me, pleading in his voice. Read this." Nicholas stepped away, his back facing me while I opened up the book to the date I always had mixed feelings about. It was our mating day written in one of the elders' handwriting. This day marked the end of the female dragon race. Our Alpha, whom we had hoped to use the power given to him, would use it for mating with a wolfless woman. We lastly hoped to save the dragon species. The woman was instantaneously killed by Alpha Adam moments after she was presented. My fellow elders and I were shocked and dismayed by Alpha Adam's choice after promising to further our species. The wolfless woman's genes were clean enough to produce a female air dragon would have secured our bloodline. Instead, he threatened to tell the secret of his parents to the entire tribe and have us all killed for our betrayal of the former Alpha if he did not get the Fae he truly wanted. A special potion was then presented to Adam, thus preserving the elders of the tribe as we try to find another way to find a full female dragon to replenish the magic of the dragons. I dropped the book, my face paled, and my heart stopped. Adam was not my true mate. The elders were nothing but sneaky, evil on saving a species the gods did not think should survive with magic. It happened to the vampires. They lost their magic long ago, and only the royals have bits and pieces left. Now, the dragons are being punished for wrongful matings. Are you all right? Nicholas took a few barefooted steps forward to me, unsure to touch me in my fragile state. How did you know? That date? How did you know to look there? My hands shook, covering my mouth. Your mark, your dragon's mark, is light. When my mother died, my father took on a chosen mate many years later with a lonely widow. Both of their marks are light, like yours. He bit his bottom lip, looking at my sympathy. I couldn't just tell you. You wouldn't believe me if I didn't have proof. I didn't want to sacrifice what we had. This was why my dragon was so weak, I could barely shift. I've only shifted 4 times in the time I had had her because she could not break through my skin. Adam stole me away. Maybe using a memory potion? What was that potion for? My mind turned, voices from the outside became louder. We have to go. Michael grabbed my elbow, but my body went to the floor, picking up the papers. I needed to get this to Queen Willa. She and her mate would provide sanctuary and maybe help my spirit brother. She could provide a safety net for me until I figure out what to do. I had been wrongfully marked. I felt so dirty. A tear dropped on one of the papers, making the word, mate, pull the ink from the page. He forced me. Chapter 48. Raven. I had just entered Taylor's bedroom. The creams and browns of the decor and walls made the room look warm and welcoming. I saw him laying on his bed staring at the ceiling. Hey! We missed you at training. I said softly, walking over to his bed. He sat up slowly and I hugged him tightly. I'm not feeling up to training. He muttered, laying down again and grabbing a square cushion, hugging it to his chest as he sighed deeply. I know, but you can't stay cooped up. I said, stroking his hand. Our eyes met, and the pain in his tugged at my heart. I'm sorry. I whispered. He gave me a pointed look. Really, Raven, you need to stop with the self-blaming. I'm glad I know what been. As for Anna, I don't know what to do. He gr0aned in frustration. So that was his dilemma, but right now I didn't trust myself to give him any advice. I don't even know what to do with my life, so I really can't advise you. I said with a gloomy pout. Will you talk to Zach? Sooner or later. He muttered, turning on his side and hugging the cushion tightly. Good, life's short. I murmured, thinking with each passing day, Liam's time was running out. Yet, I know I'll forgive him sooner or later. He did that when he was a stupid 18-year-old, and we both know that crap happens. Taylor said. Tell me about it. I've been a dumb 18-year-old, I mumbled, tugging at the hem of my dress. But I'm glad you are going to work on it. Yet. When I'm ready, right now. I'm annoyed. Taylor said, sounding adorably cute. Those people who Taylor was just one couldn't stay mad at anyone for long. And you should be. I said, giving him a small smile. What about you? What's happening? I know people at the pack house are being as. Taylor said sympathetically. So, you've heard, hey? I said, making folds in my dress. Taylor reached over and gave my arm a squeeze. Hey! I'm here if you want to talk about it. I don't know why you aren't telling people, but he's your mate, isn't he? I gave him a small smile. How do I tell him I didn't know what to do? How the fact that I have 2 mates was hard? How do I explain that I didn't know how to balance this when both my mates were so different, our relationships were so different? I just felt like I was lost in the middle of a conflict with everyone giving me different advice. I felt guilty for favoring Liam. How I forgot Damon when I was with Liam. Yet when I was with Damon, I felt guilty towards Liam. Then there was Damon telling me to make it work with Liam first, then Auntie Red saying to be equal or decide what I wanted. Not to mention Al's ultimatum that this would not work and I would have to pick one. I really wanted to go bang my head against a wall. I know you are. I just don't even know what I need to do. Anyway, I'm glad you're okay. Do you want me to come over tonight? We can binge watch some comedy movies or whatever you want and get some takeout. I suggested. His face lit up with a beautiful smile and he nodded. I'd like that. Then it's a date. I said, getting up. I hadn't really told Taylor the full deal between Liam, Damon, and me, but I think tonight I will. Anything new with your dad? Taylor asked, his smile vanishing. I looked at him and shook my head, wondering did people realized something happened after Damon took him away. No. I haven't spoken to him. I murmured, looking at the picture of Cher on his wall. Yet. Well, whenever you're ready. He said sympathetically. I nodded, thinking I was ready now. Well, I'm going to go face the music. I said, giving him a wave. He followed me out of his room and down the steps. I could see his mum was mixing something in the kitchen through the open archway. Bye Mama D. Bye, Raven. She called back. I smiled at Taylor before I walked across the garden and jumped over the fence. Taylor watched me, giving me a final thumbs up before closing the door when I did the doorbell of my parents' house. A place that used to fill me with dread when I had to return here at the end of a long day. The door opened and Mom stood there. To my surprise, she looked a mess, her eyes were puffy and her hair had not been combed. So, you finally show your face? She said to me bitterly. I frowned, stepping inside and shutting the door behind me. After Dad kicked me out, did you expect me to just come back? I asked. She shook her head, turning away and clutching the wall as if she had no energy. I sighed, tugging at the skirt of my dress again. Look, I haven't come to argue. Where's Dad? There's a few things I need to talk about with both of you. I asked. I wanted to get this off my chest and then get out of here. You got your dad thrown into the cells. Are you mocking us by coming here and pretending you don't know? She shouted, her eyes flashing yellow as she glared at me. My heart skipped a beat as her words echoed in my head. Cells? I didn't know. That night you have only ever hurt your dad, Raven. I know you don't mean to, but look where you have got him. He never wanted you near Renji, yet you went and visited his grave. What did you expect? That he wouldn't get angry? Mom cried, breaking into sobs. My own heart clenched in pain. The urge to simply stay quiet was there, but no, not this time. I came here to give my input this time, and I am not going to stay quiet like normal. So, you're saying I'm the reason Dad is in the cells? Actually, Mom, I'm not. He's there because he deserves to be there. I have done nothing to him. All I ever wanted was for him to notice me, to be proud of me, and to love me, but he never did. I said, desperation seeping into my voice. Was I really the crazy one that was in the wrong? I can't even mind link him. They are probably injecting him with silver or wolfsbane. I feel his pain. You don't know what he's going through, above all losing Renji hurt. I know. I didn't even know he existed, and it hurts me too. I visited his grave because I wanted to know my brother. What did I do so wrong that Dad hates me so much? I am his daughter too. Is it just because I was too weak to give my brother a bone marrow match? I said, feeling defeated. You were never a daughter he could be proud of. She said, simply brushing away her tears. I looked into those blue eyes of hers, the very same shade as my blue one. I know, I've been told all my life that I am nothing but a failure. I said, looking around the hallway. Something told me this was the last time I'd be visiting here. I wasn't the child Dad wanted, well that's his loss then. I have always tried my best to be the best I can be without losing my identity, but if it's not enough, then I don't care anymore. You don't care? When have you ever cared, Raven? Somehow, her words just didn't hurt anymore. I was so used to her standing by and not caring that I didn't expect anything from her. Goodbye, Mom, I won't be stopping by anymore. I didn't know Dad was in the cells, but whatever reason the Alpha or Beta deemed sufficient, Dad must deserve it. I don't really care and I don't feel bad for admitting that. I'm done. I said, casting one last look around my childhood house. Maybe we will be better off. Mom whispered, hugging herself. They hurt him a lot. I felt it. I don't know what they've done and I can't mind link him either. I'm told I have to stay under house arrest until the Alpha questions me. I frowned. I felt a sliver of irritation. Once again I wasn't told about this. Why did everyone keep me in the goddess dark? Yeah, I think we'll all be better off. I'm done being stuck around parents who love to throw mental abuse in one form or another at me. I said bitterly. For the first time, I let my anger, pain, and sadness show in my voice. I turned away, ready to open the door again when I paused. When I was a baby, you wanted the doctor to give me Renji's eye. You must have loved me, right? Before I became a useless disappointment to you both? My voice was soft, my eyes stuck on the door before me. Maybe just one kind word that at one point at least Mom cared. A long time ago. I wanted to see a part of Renji live on too. But things changed. Mom's hesitant reply came. Away and cry my L.P.S. quivered, the urge to just run threatened to consume me, but I didn't move, keeping my heartbeat steady. Changed? I should never have given Renji's eye to you. Perhaps if we hadn't, that constant reminder of his loss wouldn't be here. Maybe things would have been different. I looked over my shoulder at her, trying to blink away the tears and nodded. Maybe, but it's done. Goodbye. I said, not even knowing if I should even address her as Mom. She didn't reply as I left the house, trying to hold that smile in place, although inside I felt as if everything was crumbling to pieces. Chapter 49 Raven. I felt so angry, I hated that I didn't even know about Renji, and now the fact that Dad had been thrown into the cells. Both Damon and Liam had a chance to tell me but they hadn't. I wanted to talk to Dad, tell him how he makes me feel, and end it, but did I really want to go and see him in prison? I couldn't let this drag on, I wanted to get it over with, I guess I had no other choice. I made my way to the Blood Moon headquarters and waited for the security team to let me in. Do you have a pass? Ben asked. He was part of the security but I knew him from around. No, I'm only here to speak to my father. You can escort me down. I said curtly. I'm not sure if he's allowed visitors. He replied hesitantly. My eyes flashed and I glared at him coldly. I can speak to my father. He's here because of me. Please, Ben. I could tell he was struggling. Fine, as head warrior, I'm sure it should be okay. But I will escort you there and I will remain with you for the duration of your meeting, keep it short. I nodded and let him lead the way down towards the cells. I had only been here once or twice before, and that was a long time ago. We had gotten in trouble, but a lot was different now. Even the cells had changed a lot compared to how they had been back then. We walked past the cells that contained small beds, and I realized that the further we got, the emptier, darker and colder the cells became. My heart skipped a beat as we went down a few steps to the lower cells. Cells that were like those from a movie from long ago, creepy, dirty, and dark. Go. I will wait here. I'm not able to mind link the Alpha, and I do hope this isn't breaking protocol. He muttered. I won't be long, I said, walking forward. Dad's scent hit my nose and I headed down towards the bottom, stopping when I caught sight of him. He was sitting against the far wall in the corner, leaning on a cell. Have you come to have a laugh? Dad spat, turning his head towards me. Dry blood and dirt covered his face. His clothes weren't much different. I could see they were the same ones he had on when Damon dragged him away from me. No, I said quietly. I came to talk to you. I am not interested in talking to you. Leave. He said resentfully, but he also sounded tired. You don't need to reply. I'm here to speak, and all I want is for you to listen. I'm always the one listening, the one trying to be okay. I'm done with staying quiet. I'm done with pretending that it's okay because it really isn't. I have never been scared of you, but for the sake of not arguing, I would stay quiet. I'm 21 now, I can't go on like this. I said, my voice breaking with frustration and sadness. I hated life right now, but I was going to move forward. I am totally done with staying quiet. Taking a deep breath, I continued. All I wanted growing up was to be accepted, to be told that you are proud of me, but I never got that from you or Mom. Even when you would throw something at me in anger or push me around. I told myself you were just upset because I was too loud and annoying. But you know, Dad, it hurt, it really hurt not knowing what I was doing wrong. All my life, I pretended I'm okay. I always placed this big smile on my face and carried on hoping things changed, but even then, nothing became better. I know you wish Renji was the one alive, and I wish he was too. Maybe then you could all have been happy. If I had the choice, I would be okay with being the one who died if it meant don't act like you asterisk care. Don't even utter his name. Get out. Dad growled. In a flash, he was in front of the bars, rattling them hard with one hand, not caring for the silver that burned his skin. I stepped back, my heart thundering at his sudden move, but what alarmed me the most was the fact he was missing an arm. He saw my gaze on his arm and sneered at me. What? Happy to see what your Alpha's done to me. Hey! Calm down or I'll tell the Alpha. Ben warned. My own heart was racing as I stepped further back. His arm. The boy's words rang in my head. This blood is your dad's. Why hadn't they told me? See, all you do is bring trouble to us all, Renji, me, your mother. I hope you are happy, Raven, because well done, you got what you wanted. You got me locked up. He spat. I shook my head slowly. I didn't know why Liam had ripped his arm off, but I didn't know you'd be locked up. But you must have triggered him off. Don't act like there's a reason. You are the reason. He shouted, slamming his good hand against the bar. You are useless. There's nothing special about you. As for your mates, no wonder the goddess gave you two, because she knew exactly what kind of whore you are. I flinched at those words, my heart thundering. Raven! Ben muttered, trying to pull me back. Let's leave. Useless. Dad hissed, don't let his words get to you. I wish I had gotten rid of you when you were a child. I wish I didn't have to see that disgusting face of yours before me. I wish. A sinister, menacing growl ripped through the air, echoing from every corner of this place and making me spin around. The dark heavy aura surged around me. My heart was thumping as I stared at the man who stepped out of the shadows. Ben flinched, moving back, cowering under his alpha's power. Liam's aura was stronger than ever. The chilling darkness that emanated from him was spreading to every corner of the cold cells and making my stomach churn unpleasantly. I told you, that you will not talk to him without me. Liam's ominous voice came. His voice was deeper and harsher than ever. His dark navy eyes, which looked almost black, stared into mine. The anger and rage that burned within them was so intense that I felt my knees go weak. Finish me off, it's what you both want. Dad muttered. Don't trigger him off, Dad. Good idea. Liam said icily. Especially after you just talked to her like that. No. I said just as Liam moved forward incredibly fast. I blocked his way, my back hitting the bars, biting my LP as the silver burnt me. I spread my arms and shook my head. Liam. No. Don't play the innocent party, Raven, we all know you want this. Dad spat. Move aside, love. Liam warned me quietly. No. I said, shaking my head. Liam's eyes darkened and his chest was heaving with suppressed rage, but even then, I could tell he was getting angrier. My chest was heaving. I knew if I moved now he would kill Dad. Even if I was ending things with him, Liam couldn't go around and kill people. Move aside. His eyes blazed, then before my very eyes, the whites of his eyes began to turn black. I gasped in horror as I stared into his now completely black pits. A cold smirk crossed his face as he tilted his head to the side, looking at me, but before I could even say anything, his hand darted out and wrapped around my throat in a death grip, cutting off my airway. The sparks of the mate bond rippled through me, but Liam was unmoved. The darkness around him was only growing. My heart was thundering as a shiver ran down my spine. What was happening to him? Chapter 50 Raven Liam. I choked out as his hand became tighter. Alpha. Ben stuttered, clearly not expecting the change in Liam. Liam's eyes snapped towards him, his alpha command surging forth. With just one look, the man lowered his head, moving away. My eyes widened. That. Liam didn't even say anything. Liam. I said, my nails digging into his hands as I tried to get him to let go of me. Liam, please let go. My heart thundered as Liam threw me aside roughly. I hit the bars on the opposite side, groaning as pain jarred through me before I fell to the ground, just about breaking my fall. The burn of the silver searing my bare back made me pull away from them. Alpha. No one can protect you, not even her. Liam hissed as Dad spluttered, backing away from the bars. Run. I told Ben, praying he didn't have the keys just in case Liam tried to get them. He moved towards me, but I shook my head. I'll call. He backed away silently, and I turned to Liam. My eyes widened in fear, watching him take hold of two bars and stretching them apart. My heart was in my throat. That wasn't possible. Those bars were made to withstand a werewolf's limits. My eyes snapped to his hands. Sure enough, they were burned, yet he clearly didn't care. He smiled, almost psychotically, as he stepped through the gap he had created. Alpha S stop. Why you can't kill me? Dad shouted. I looked at Liam, stumbling to my feet as I ran into the cell. It wasn't Dad that I cared about right now, it was Liam. I couldn't let the darkness control him, whatever this was, it was strong. Liam, please. I whispered, blocking his way. Reaching up, I cupped his face tightly, only for him to grab my wrists in a painful grip. I felt something crack in my left wrist, but I didn't let go. Stay out of this, darling, I told you, he will pay for the crap he's given you. He hissed, pushing me away roughly as he advanced on Dad. I saw his claws come out as he lunged at my father, slashing him across his ch3st. He didn't stop, picking him up and flinging him down to the ground. Stop! I shouted as Dad howled in pain, not even able to defend himself. He needed to stop. I ran towards him, pushing him away from Dad with all my strength. Liam, please listen to me. I pleaded, feeling the sparks course through us as I grabbed his face, this time bracing myself. Won't you listen to your bit size? He svcked in a sharp breath, his heart thundering, and I saw his eyes lighten a little. The black that coated his whites was fading away slowly. Listen to me, Blue Eyes, I whispered, trying to ignore the discomfort in my wrist as Liam tried to pull out of my grip, only crushing my already painful wrist further. I didn't let go, instead locking my arms around his neck. Liam. His eyes flickered from cerulean to magnetic blue to midnight navy, his heart thundering loudly. I could feel his emotions as he fought against himself. You're okay? I whispered, locking my arms tightly around his neck. As I placed a soft KSS on his throat, I locked my legs around his WAST, clinging onto him tightly. That seemed to work as he gasped for air, staggering back. He whispered. I leaned back, staring into his now bright cerulean eyes, relief flooding me. He looked around, as if realizing where we were for the first time. Raven, he said, looking at me and then at Dad's body that lay limp on the ground. He wrapped his arms around my waist tightly and I could hear how fast his heart was beating, burying his head in my neck as realization settled within him. Just then, we heard the sound of running and saw Uncle El and Damon, realizing Ben must have called them. Damon looked at us, worry clear in his eyes as Uncle El assessed the situation. I didn't miss the way his eyes flashed when he looked at the bent bars or the way his frown deepened as he hurried over to Dad. I unlocked my legs from around Liam's waist, but he refused to let me go. I didn't pull away. As much as he needed me, I also was worried for him. Will someone explain to me what is happening here? Uncle El hissed, his eyes blazing cobalt blue as he looked at us. Get him to the hospital. Damon hesitated, before frowning and walking over to Dad, only to stop again. I don't know if he deserves that, Uncle. He whispered to everyone's surprise. I put him in here, he's staying here. He won't die, although he should. Liam added coldly. Liam, I am the alpha. My rules now, remember. Uncle El clenched his jaw, looking at me and then at Liam. I looked between Damon and Liam. Damon was tense, I knew he was angry with my father, and Liam's eyes kept flickering from magnetic blue to cerulean. Just let a doctor come see him. He isn't worth getting your hands dirty over. I whispered, looking up at Damon. I saw Uncle El glance between the three of us. I had a feeling Auntie Red had probably told him our situation. What happened to Haru's arm? He asked tersely. He lost it, Liam said coldly. I saw Uncle El pause for a moment and knew he was mind-linking someone. I set an example of what happens when you abuse your child, Liam said icily as he glared down at Dad. Liam, Uncle El said, concern clear in his eyes. Liam didn't reply, finally letting go of me and taking hold of my wrist. Ouch! I yelled, unable to stop myself as pain shot up my broken wrist. All three men looked at me, and Liam let go quickly. What's wrong, love? He asked as I clutched my wrist, my eyes stinging from the pain. I think it's bruised, the angle is off. That's broken. How did that happen? Uncle L said, coming over as he took my hand in his. He examined my wrist before he snapped it back into place, making me gasp, eye-watering pain shooting through me before I felt my arm healing. Ow, I said, pouting as I rubbed my wrist. Uncle L gave me a sympathetic look before his brows furrowed once more. Damon was by my side, taking my hand as he massaged my forearm gently. How did you get hurt, Raven? Uncle L repeated. My heart thumped. I couldn't and I wouldn't say, Liam. He would only feel bad. I just got. I did that, didn't I? Liam asked quietly. No, it wasn't you. I said, firmly looking up at him. The guilt and pain in his eyes made my own heart squeeze. A tense silence fell, even when a doctor and 2 guards came rushing in. I knew this conversation was not over. Liam turned away, yet I didn't miss the turmoil and shock in his eyes. Get him treated and put him in one of the cells on the top floor with a bed. Liam muttered, his irritation and contempt clear in his voice. And how about the 4 of us get back to my house? I think we need to have a talk. Uncle L said darkly. I looked up at him. His jaw was clenched, his nostrils flaring. The way he was looking at Liam told me he was annoyed off. Liam frowned, and as much as I didn't want to get him in trouble, I knew that if we told them about the curse, they could help. Let's go then, Liam said, coldly leading the way out. My thoughts were in vain when Liam's cold voice came through the link. If either of you mentions the curse, he left his threat hanging. I stared at his back, my own heart aching. I couldn't sense his emotions anymore. He had raised his walls once again. I prayed he didn't shut me out again because he needed us. What happened? Damon asked through the link. He heard me and Dad talking. He lost it. I'm scared, Damon. His eyes turned completely black. It was terrifying. He wasn't himself yet. I saw him rip your dad's arm off and he didn't seem like himself then too. And I thought after talking to him I was going to unleash my wrath upon the 2 of you. Neither of you told me he was in the cells, I said, trying to keep the annoyance from my voice. Sorry, gorgeous. Damon's apologetic voice came. I looked at him and sadly those blue eyes of his looked sorry. Still, when things calmed down, I was going to unleash my wrath upon them. They are not forgiven. I'll deal with that after this talk. I mumbled through the link, now staring at Liam's muscular back. Worry and fear consumed me as we walked through the packed grounds towards his parents' home. The power that rolled off of him reminded me that this was not just an alpha, but one of the strongest in the entire country. Time was running out and we still had no solid answers. Chapter 51. Raven, is anyone going to speak? Auntie Red said, placing a tray of snacks and drinks on the coffee table, her eyes full of concern as she saw Uncle L frowning. We were all seated in the living room of the Westwood home. Come here, he said. I was sitting on the sofa opposite, with Liam on one side and Damon on the other. Azura was watching TV and I was proud to see she was playing with the plushie I had got for her. From here I could see she was enjoying eating her boogers. Ah, so cute. Care to explain how the foo? Auntie Red placed her finger on Uncle L's P.S., cutting him off. He smirked slightly, biting down on it. Hot couple goals. How did you bend those bars? He continued once he let go of his mate's finger. I looked at Liam. Okay, big boy, explain that. I crossed my arms as all eyes turned to Liam, who simply leant forward, picking up a chocolate bar from the tray. Liam, your dad asked you a question. Auntie Red said pointedly. What bars are we talking about anyway? The ones in the lower cells. They are made to withstand our kind and in no way are they able to bend, considering how thick they are. Uncle L said, frowning. Liam shrugged, ripping open the chocolate wrapper with his teeth. My stomach fluttered and I swallowed. I had to admit, Goddess, why did something so simple make me feel all funny? Liam bit into the chocolate, but it was clear his parents saw his attitude as disobedient, no matter how hot he looked biting into it. His eyes flicked to me. I felt my cheeks burn when he gave me the faintest hint of a smirk before glancing back at his parents. I guess I'm just stronger than your typical alpha, he said. Inhumanely strong, Damon said quietly. My eyes snapped to him. Did he have a death wish? We need them to know, and we can't tell them, he said through the link, his soft blue eyes staring into mine. True. That's not possible. Only Alejandro could possibly do that, Uncle L said icily. Guess he's not the only strong one around then, Liam remarked, shrugging as he eat his soft P.S., taking another bite of the chocolate. And Raven's wrist, was it due to you not knowing your strength that you ended up hurting your own mate? Uncle L hissed. Auntie Red snapped to him, poking her eyes out at him. I had a feeling he wasn't meant to have said that. I knew she had told him. Oh, mate. Azura jumped up as she stared at me and Liam. Waven. We am. Your mates. I gave her a small smile, but I didn't reply. I glanced at Damon and he gave me that small smile he always did. I hated this. Okay Azura, come on. Auntie Mani is in the other room. You can watch TV there, Auntie Red said before motioning Azura to follow her. Uncle L glared at his son as Azura followed Auntie Red out, still giggling as she looked between Liam and I. We are going to have Waven and we yam babies, was the last thing she said before she disappeared. Goddess, that child. I didn't realize I was hurting her. His I don't care attitude vanished and he looked down at my wrist. I'll make it up to you. Yeah, you will. But before that, how did you not realize? You ripped Haru's arm off Liam. That is no joke. You are alpha. You can't do things without a trial. Without your beta, your delta, and your pack knowing why. Uncle L said as Auntie Red returned. Motioning for me and Damon to take something from the tray, I reached forward, taking up a packet of white chocolate buttons and a bar of chocolate. I passed the bar to Damon, giving him a smile before ping open my packet and putting a button in my mouth. Your father is correct, Auntie Red said, sitting next to Uncle L, draping a leg over his gh. He wrapped his arm around her shoulders, as he leaned over and kissed her. Mates. That is what a relationship is. One for one. How do you think anyone can be happy where the dynamics are so f'd up? Liam's cold voice came in my I didn't reply. I get that, and even if somehow it worked, we weren't a trio of mates. It was them two for me, so I didn't get it too. I pushed the thoughts away. About Dad. He flipped when he found out I visited Renji's grave. I said, sighing as I ate another button, letting it melt on my tongue. Care to elaborate? I am done with you kids hiding stuff, I want it all laid out on the table. Uncle L said, his eyes flashing. I swallowed. He was as scary as Liam at times, or even scarier. I looked at Liam, who nodded. Start from when you were little because there's a lot you keep skating around and hiding, he added. You got this, Damon added softly. Auntie Red sighed. Sometimes sharing isn't easy. I've been there, but it feels better when that burden of secrets is lifted from you, she said encouragingly. I frowned, staring down at my knees. Well, Dad has always never liked me. I was always annoying and you were never annoying. Liam cut in, his eyes flashing as he reached for my chin and turned my face towards him. Stop saying that. Okay, he found me annoying. It was the small digs, pushes and shoves here and there. In their eyes, I was useless, and apparently, the one whose fault it is that my brother is gone. He always referred to me as trash. There's not much to tell. He's just. I will no longer refer to him as Dad anymore. I am done with him. As for his mate, she would just stand by and didn't care. In her eyes, he was always right. It wasn't easy talking about it, I didn't want to go into it deeply. It's done, I'm done with him, his mental abuse and sometimes physical. Although it was never anything big, just a shove and push that is not something small, Raven. Uncle L said quietly. I can't believe we didn't pick up on it. Auntie Red said, I could see the guilt in her eyes. I don't want sympathy, some people have it so much worse. I'm okay, besides I was here so often you practically were forced to have me. I said, waving my hand. So don't feel bad, if it wasn't for you guys maybe things would have been different and far worse. He never left a mark or bruise, so I'm okay, why is there never an end? Uncle L muttered. Because that's how humans are. Auntie Red said. Killing him is not an option, Liam. Revise your punishment and hold a trial for them both, then set a punishment that they deserve. I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. If I say he's staying down there until the day he dies, then he is. Liam said icily. His eyes blazed and I felt that dark aura surge around him once more. My heart thumped as I looked at the alpha couple in front of me, both had tensed, their eyes sharp and calculating as they stared at their son. One who I didn't even need to turn to know that his eyes were probably a few shades darker. Chapter 52 Scarlet. My heart skipped a beat, I could barely recognize him, save his strawberry locks and his features that were a mix of both mine and Elijah's. The coldness and darkness that exuded from him made my gut twist, but it was the cold smile on his face that reminded me of someone long ago. Someone that I still sometimes had to remind myself was dead. Someone who would still creep into my mind on an occasional rare night. No. My son was not anything like him. Liam. I said, getting up. I walked towards him, cupping his face as I perched on the armrest of the sofa next to him. Liam, look at me. My eyes flashed silver as I tried to get through to him, but he simply pulled away from my hold, something he had never done in his life. Liam. I think a trial sounds fair. Raven said, taking hold of his hand. I felt him tense. The darkness seemed to flare up before it ebbed away. Raven caressed his hand, her eyes focused on Liam. Something was going on. Something that I had a feeling these three knew of. This was not just the mate issue here. Liam looked at Raven, who gave him a small smile, and I turned to Elijah who was watching the entire scene with a thoughtful expression. Some things felt different about you since you returned, but now I know there's definitely more to it. Care to share what is going on? He asked. There's nothing to say. Liam said, about to stand up when Raven took hold of his wrist. There's a curse. She blurted out. I raised an eyebrow, trying to make sense of what she'd just said. I told you it's no big deal and that was something you shouldn't have mentioned. Liam said, glaring at her. His voice had never been harsher. "Liam, do not speak to her like that," I said icily. "She will tell us whatever is going on." Elijah added firmly, "and you will learn to speak to her properly." Liam ignored us, his gaze fixed on Raven. "Do whatever you want, Raven. I trusted you with that and expected you to keep it confidential," he said. Despite his anger, I could feel the sadness and hurt in his voice. Raven closed her eyes when the door slammed shut behind Liam. I ran my hands through my hair and looked at the two that were left. "Start from the top," I said quietly. Raven's eyes were trained on the door, before she looked back at me and then at Elijah. "Damon can fill you guys in," she murmured, getting up and rushing from the room. I glanced at Damon, seeing the flicker of sadness in his eyes as he watched her leave. I frowned, remembering how Elijah had taken the news when I told him about both boys being mated to Raven. How can any man accept that?" Elijah said, running his fingers through his hair. "Baby. If the moon goddess paired them, surely she had something in mind." I replied softly, getting up and wrapping my arms around his waist. "She creates a connection, not love," he replied quietly, looking down at me. "I don't blame Liam for acting the way he did, but I also don't like the way he's treating Damon. And is that boy crazy that he actually wants to make this work? We can't question what they want. Regardless of their decision, we will support them." I murmured, "Sing his neck." "Yeah, but the bond alone isn't enough to make it work. If the bond was everything, people wouldn't cheat on their mates, there wouldn't be rejections, there wouldn't be anyone hurting their mates. The bond. It's a strong pull that ties us to people, but it's way far from absolute." I looked into his eyes. Elijah had never placed the same value in the bond as I did. Yes, we were fated, but he had been ready to throw away his fated mate for me, and that was the true extent to his love. "I know it is, but I'm sure they will do what is best for them." Elijah shook his head. Yeah, maybe," he said. "I just don't think they should use the bond as an excuse to stay stuck without moving in any direction. I guess Liam is your son, so he places some value on the bond. He's your son too, and loves unconditionally," I replied, my gaze lingering on his L.P.S. "That's the way it should be," he replied before claiming my L.P.S. in a sizzling K.S.S. End of flashback. I pushed the thoughts away, looking at Damon as Elijah told him to start from the top. He took a deep breath. I knew he was worried about Liam as well. "We need to know Damon," I pushed, now sitting on the sofa next to him as I took his hand in my own. He looked at me, smiling softly. I reached over, kissing his cheek delicately. "I have seen this boy grow up into the man he is today. Every time I think of Aaron, all I remember is Monica telling him she's going to be a mama and giving him that daddy's favorite baby romper. A moment that would always remain in my mind, yet it hurt knowing Aaron was gone and Monica was not who she once used to be. Her little baby was brave. He was a selfless, loving young man who deserved the very best in life. I would never show him the sadness that I felt because he was staying strong, and so would I. Tell us," I said, not letting go of his hand. He sighed in defeat and began telling us about this curse. "That's all we've got for now," Damon finished. My heart was thundering, and I could feel Elijah's walls were up. Goddess. Indigo, Dad, Mom, Grandma Amy, Liam, Aaron, Raphael, Daniel. How many people would you take from us? Now Liam? Elijah was silent, running his fingers through his sandy brown locks. so, he practically has about 2.5 months. Elijah said. We break this curse, or he's gone. His voice was emotionless, yet I knew that wasn't the case inside. Goddess, don't give my baby any more pain, please. He has been through so much. I looked away from Elijah, trying to contain my pain for him. I stood up, ruffling my hair. There is no or ifs in this scenario. We are going to break this curse one way or another, or I'm up to facing Helios himself. I said, frowning. No one is taking my son from me. My eyes blazed at the very thought. I had lost far too much already. Then we had no choice. There was nothing we could do, but this was different. There was a chance. I didn't care if he had drawn the same card as Zidane, I didn't care if we didn't have the answers, we were going to get through this. Liam had always put himself second to everyone else. He was loving, tender, and passionate in everything he did. My son was still inside there. He was battling this in his own way, and he will know that his family is with him. We are God, relentless, stubborn, and ambitious. Chapter 53. Raven. I knew by blurting that out I was breaking his trust, but I couldn't just keep it secret when we needed all the help we could get. Liam, I said, running after him, grabbing the back of his shirt just as he exited the house. His anger flared up and he spun around, the deep magnetic blue of his wolf's eyes piercing into my own. Thank the goddess it wasn't those dark eyes. I trusted you. Don't you think I had my reasons not to tell them? He asked coldly, just as a strong wind blew around us. Liam, you need help. Don't give me that SHT. I don't need help, you know what? I regret ever telling you about curse and card, then no one would have ever known about it. He said, his voice was so full of anger and bitterness that I felt it inside. I didn't want to tell Mom and Dad because they are already going through so much. I know. But if they lose you, then... Don't act like you know what you're going on about, Raven. Liam snapped, making me internally flinch. He wasn't wrong. I felt like I always messed everything up. Okay. I'm sorry. I just wanted to help. I don't want to lose you. None of us do, they would never forgive themselves, I said, staring up into his eyes. He closed his eyes, exhaling sharply as he pinched the bridge of his nose in irritation. I looked down, feeling my stomach twist. We've never argued before. I'm sorry for shouting at you. He said, his voice a lot calmer. Cupping my face, my heart skipped a beat as the electrifying sparks at our contact coursed through me, making my breath hitch. I looked up slowly, trying to hide the hurt from my eyes, but it was hard to when it came to Liam. It felt like he was bearing into my soul, I felt bare and vulnerable. I gripped his wrists, brushing my thumb along the inside of his wrist. I don't mean to mess things up, although I know I always do. We all love you. I love you. I said softly. We only want to help Liam. By shutting us out, what good will it do? I know you don't want to upset your parents. But don't you think they would be more hurt if you died? I whispered, yearning for him to understand. I could see the struggle in his eyes before he looked down. A part of me wants to tell you to stay away from me. I don't want you to get so invested in us when who knows what will happen in a few months' time, and then, another part of me wants to live every day as if it's my last and to make the most of it with you. He murmured, his thumb **ing my cheek. Liam. You will make it out of this and we will be together. I said softly, my heart pounding at the intensity in those eyes of his. Will we? He asked softly, his head tilted slightly as he looked at me. We will. I said, and I meant it. I love you, Leah MMH. Goddess. He turned us, pushing me up against the wall near the front door, his heart on pressing against my stomach. Maybe I don't want you to. I whispered back, M0ANING in pleasure and making him pause. His L.P.S. were brushing my neck just below my ear. A certain part of him throbbed against me, making me sigh softly. He moved back slightly, a devilish smirk crossing his L.P.S. You sure beautiful. He teased, his hand slipping under my skirt. I had never done this before, and out here in the open? My heart was pounding. What's the fun in anything without the fear of being caught? He teased, his hand going under the skirt of my dress once more. I want to taste you, love. He whispered huskily, bending down before me. Mind if I do? Goddess. You taste better than I imagined. His voice came through the link. So, you've imagined what I tasted like? I couldn't help but ask, despite my cheeks burning even more. Countless times. I have too. I whimpered, unable to reply as he ate me out like I was the tastiest thing on the planet. I could taste myself in his mouth, and it only made my heart thump even more. This side of Liam was reserved only for me, and there was something so hot about that. Don't you taste good, love? He asked huskily through the link, because I think I just found myself a new favorite thing to feast on. I didn't reply, blushing when he parted his L.P.S. and allowed me to roam his mouth with my tongue. My hand ran down, but he stopped me, taking hold of my hands. Not today, love. He said quietly, his smirk vanishing as he stared up into my eyes. When you're fully mine. He added, quietly answering my silent questions, the pang of pain that squeezed at the realization that I had two mates returned to me like a slap in the face. I didn't reply as he turned and left me standing there alone. I couldn't go on like this. It wasn't fair to any one of us. Chapter 54. Raven. I had returned to the pack house after that, not wanting anyone to know what we had just done. My mind kept replaying the moment with Liam, and I realized that, despite worrying about him, I was holding back from being myself completely with him because of my connection to Damon. It wasn't fair on anyone. Damon had mind-linked asking if things were okay, and I told him that we didn't really talk, but he'd calmed down. He was glad things didn't escalate and filled me in on what happened inside. Yes, I felt dreadful. Auntie Red had also mind-linked asking about Liam as well, but the thing is we didn't really get to talk, so I told her the same thing I told Damon. Things had just gotten out of hand, but I didn't regret it. I needed to sort myself out. Maybe talking to Taylor might help? I needed a friend's insight on this, and I think we both needed each other. I pulled on some soft black loungewear, consisting of comfy bottoms, a crop top and a cardigan, before I grabbed some snacks from my stash, Doritos, a bag of mixed chocolates and a share bag of candy floss. Who doesn't love cotton candy? Of course, I brought one of my plus highs. You can't have a movie night without a plushie, and of course, slippers. I looked down at my fluffy slippers proudly. I was halfway down the hallways when Owen bumped into me on purpose, but I was kind of expecting it. I braced myself just in time, shoving him hard and knocking him into the wall on his other side. A young couple, Lee and Macy, snickered at that, and Owen shot them a glare. So, where are you off to tonight? Your other mates for the night? He asked, making me freeze. Excuse me. Come on, we all know you have two mates. Wow, you're a little slut, hey? He taunted. Owen cut it out. Lee warned him. I can handle this, I said, despite feeling shocked at the fact that the entire packhouse knew I had two mates. Was it the guard? T. Actually, I'm going to Taylor's, I said icily. Oh, I never knew he rolled both ways. There might actually be a bit of a man in the Owen was cut off when someone punched him across the face. Zach's scent hit me before I realized it was him as he knocked Owen to the ground, punching him across the face again. Who do you think you are insulting? He growled venomously, punching him again. My eyes widened as I stared at them, but I wasn't going to stop them. Owen deserved this. What man? Owen growled. You don't talk sh.t about him or I swear I will you up. Zach hissed, delivering a final punch to Owen's jaw, making the three of us watching flinch at the resounding crack. He got off him and Owen groaned, rolling onto his side. The smell of blood filled my nose as he spat a mouthful out whilst he watched Zach turn away. I stuck my tongue out at him before trudging down the stairs behind Zach. Someone got angry, I said, clutching my snacks tightly. He looked down at my plushie before shaking his head and giving me a look that clearly said, you know why. And where were you headed to? Zach asked, raising his eyebrow as he looked me over. Spending the night at Taylor's, I said, tossing my hair. Hee, bet you want to be in my place right now, Svker. I instantly felt bad when he swallowed and nodded, his eyes filled with guilt. How is he? He needs time, but he'll be okay, I said softly as Nina and another Omega stepped out of the kitchen and passed Zach a large bag full of boxed food. I gave Nina a small wave and she smiled back as Zach thanked them. What's with the food? I asked, motioning to the Tupperware. Oh, I'm taking these for a few of the boys on patrol. With everything happening, they don't really get breaks often, he said, shrugging. Oh okay. Well, have fun being a delivery boy, I said, strolling towards the front door. Hey, should you be going out alone? If Liam knew he won't know unless you open your mouth, I growled. I'll walk you. I raised an eyebrow. Are you worried about me, or do you just want to see a certain someone? Both. He's avoiding me, not that I blame him, Zach said quietly. I gave him a sympathetic smile. He'll come around, I said as we left the pack house. Ah, the weather was good tonight. We reached Taylor's house shortly after, and I paused, glancing at my own parents' home for a moment. It felt strange. I didn't know what to feel anymore. Raven? Zach asked concerned. You okay? I nodded my head and smiled. Of course, I said before I walked up to Taylor's front door and rang the doorbell. Zach stayed at the gate, but he didn't leave. His eyes were on the door. Taylor opened it looking as handsome as ever, in an oversized tank top and sweat *NTS. His eyes instantly snapped to Zach at the gates, his heart skipping a beat. He clenched his jaw and looked at me. Hey, you got snacks? I got some too, and pizza is on the way, he said, smiling down at me. I said, giving him a hug despite having my hands full. I knew Zach had walked off, it hurt to see them like this. We headed upstairs, and both of us plopped down on his bed. He put on a movie that he knew both of us would enjoy, although I knew we were both going to be watching less and talking more. So, how was your day? Taylor asked, as we both settled against the pillows. I placed my plushie next to me in the middle of us both, smiling proudly at it. He held out the bowl of popcorn he had already prepared, and I sighed heavily at his question. Okay, want me to tell you my problems because I have a lot to tell?" I said, pouting. Taylor propped himself up on his elbow, tilting his head. "Okay. Should I be worried? I mean, I have heard stuff." "Well, I guess you heard about the two mates, huh?" I said, throwing popcorn up in the air and catching it in my mouth. "Yeah. I did actually." "Girl." He gave me a small smile. I sighed heavily. "No babe, not okay," I said and began to explain our entire situation. The pizza came halfway through and we ate slowly. Taylor was more in shock than anything else as he processed the entire thing. I didn't hold back, from how Dad deleted those texts, to everything else. Telling him how I had chemistry with both and loved them both, but it was also so different. How I felt guilty and confused. The only thing I left out was the curse. "And there you have it, my life," I said, biting into my third pizza slice. Taylor let out a low whistle as he gulped some of his fizzy drink down. "So that's why things between them two are weird as hell," he said, running his fingers through his hair. "Yeah," I said, sighing heavily. "Well, now I'm wondering who has it worse, you or I," he muttered. I gave him a sympathetic smile. "For what it's worth, I think things will get better," I offered. "So, who will you pick?" he asked, picking up a few fries. My eyes widened as I stared up at him, my heart thundering at his words. "Pick?" Taylor nodded, his warm eyes full of concern and curiosity. "Yeah, because it's obvious from everything you just told me that you're going to have to pick one." My heart skipped a beat and I nodded. "Yeah, that has been on my mind, but how am I supposed to do that without feeling guilty?" I asked the one question that haunted my thoughts. Chapter 55. Raven, you are going to feel guilty, but we both know staying in this situation is hurting you all," he said softly. I could feel how bad he felt saying that, but it was the truth. "Putting aside everything, let's play a game. I ask a question and you pick which one you would choose," he added, slapping his thigh as the idea popped in his head. Putting aside everything. The curse included. Because that was what I used to make myself feel better every time I felt guilty for how I was treating Damon, but that was not an excuse. "Okay," I said, playing with the tab on my can. "Now picture them both standing right there. Which one will you hug first?" I frowned as the answer came to me. "Liam, because we're not justifying why here. Block that all out and just think about your instant answers. I don't want any breaks, you have got to answer fast, okay? Whoever comes to mind first." "Okay, IGR0ANED. Both are hurt in a battle with rogues? Which one will you tend to first?" "Liam," I said, feeling another flash of guilt through me. No matter the answer, I still felt guilty. "If you did something that they told you not to, who will you confess to first?" "Damon." "Who do you want to?" "Lee Hay." Taylor chuckled. "Sue. You done it yet?" "Details, now." "Stop it. We haven't," I said, blushing as I remembered what happened earlier. "Oh, my dear goddess, that was naughty." Liam was naughty. That side of him. My heart skipped a beat and I pushed it away. "Okay, then which one do you want to cuddle up to in bed?" "Liam." "Cuddle with over a movie?" "Both." I pouted. They both came to mind. "So something you would do with a friend," Taylor said. "Okay. Out of curiosity, which one have you ssc'd?" "Both, but Damon only once." I replied, pouting. D*mn girl. Dare I ask how many times you've ssc'd Liam? He teased. I sighed. It's because Damon said stop justifying it, we are talking about your feelings here. He said softly, giving my hand a squeeze before dipping his fries into the ketchup. I nodded, thinking about Damon once more. Deep down, I knew who I favored, but I hated myself for it. There's no guilt or shame in loving someone. It doesn't make you bad to feel stronger for one over the other. Can you imagine being with Damon and rejecting Liam? Life without Liam. My heart clenched painfully and my eyes stung. The fear of the curse, and what if that becomes a reality? His words from earlier echoed in my mind, when you are mine? I knew he could sense my hesitation, it hurt so much. I was an awful mate to both. I placed my face in my hands as the tears came, no longer able to hold them back. I'm sorry, Raven. Taylor's panicked voice came. I shook my head, but I was unable to stop. I knew what I had to do, but just thinking about it broke me. I didn't want to hurt him. I couldn't hurt him. I sobbed loudly, clamping my hands over my mouth as I bent down, pressing my forehead to my knees as I tried to stop my tears. Taylor's arms wrapped around me and held me tight. I'm sorry, Raven. I'm sorry. Don't be. You just made me realize I am doing more damage than good. I whispered through the link. He stroked my back and I felt ridiculous crying like this, but I realized all my life I just stayed quiet because it was easier. We couldn't do this anymore, I couldn't do this anymore. I wanted all my firsts to be special, not constantly worrying about what the other might be thinking or the fact that I kept feeling guilty. I'm going to say this to myself as much as to you, Taylor said, kissing the top of my head. Life isn't perfect or easy. The stories of soulmates and their eternal love are only sugar-coated versions of reality. Look at those power couples around us. Alpha Elijah and Luna Scarlets, sure we know them as this amazing couple who love each other deeply and have the chemistry to die for, but they did not have it easy even on their journeys, there were difficulties. We need to create our own love stories, overcome our differences, issues, and hardships to make them perfect, but also remember that we need to get to that perfect part. To remember that the pain we're feeling right now is part of that journey, a part we need to overcome. I nodded as I tried to steady my breathing and calm down. I know. You're right. I'm scared knowing I might hurt someone and knowing that I'm already hurting Damon, Liam, myself. I know, baby girl, but that's life and you are one bad queen who has got this. I wish I could tell him I was just an ordinary wallflower, not a bad queen. But he's being sweet, so I won't argue. I'm tired of it all. I whispered. It's okay to be. He replied. I pulled away slightly and looked at him with a tilt of my head. So, what about you? I asked, wiping my tears away. He looked down. I need to talk to Channing. He deserves to know, but I have been delaying it. He said, his eyes pained. I'm sorry. I whispered. Don't be, I'll figure it out. He comforted me. I nodded and took a deep breath. Okay, we are going to do what we need to do. I said with renewed determination, feeling a lot better after crying and talking to him. He gave me a small smile and nodded. Yeah. We will. We had cleared up the takeaway boxes and had settled down, nibbling at the cotton candy when Liam's voice came through the link, making my cheeks burn at the memory of earlier. Raven. Yeah. I asked, my heart thumping. Your father's trial is this coming Monday. Are you okay with testifying openly or privately? My heart skipped a beat, so he was actually listening to Uncle L. I felt so happy about that. I smiled softly. I can do it openly, I said, my heart thumping, but I needed to be brave. I knew the pack were probably already talking about me behind my back with the entire two-mate situation, but I would not let it put me down. If Liam was willing to do this by trial, something he didn't want to do, then I would also testify. I'm willing to do so at the trial, I said softly. Perfect. So, what are you up to? He asked. I smiled at the awkwardness in his tone. Thinking about you and playing with myself? I said as seriously as possible. His pause of silence made me unable to hold back my laughter. Haha, did I make you blush? I don't blush, came his reply, but I could tell he was pouting. But I know how to make you blush. Oh, don't play that with me, Blue Eyes, I said, glad he wasn't here in person. I'm at Taylor's. You are disturbing me. Cool, enjoy, but one last thing. I didn't expect you to have a Brazilian wax. I like it. Scratch that, I love it and it's a turn on. My eyes flew open, my cheeks burning at his words, and I wasn't able to reply. His chuckle came through the link. Have fun. Came his triumphant farewell, leaving me red-faced and completely speechless. Chapter 56. Raven. Taylor and I watched another movie after. We talked about our SVCKY situations as we ate all the snacks and even grabbed some beer from the fridge. Comforting each other when we needed it and laughing at our lame attempts at singing. Yes, we were both tone-deaf and sounded horrifying, but hey, we had fun and lots of giggles. Taylor was an amazing friend, and although we weren't close as children, it felt like I had known him forever. I mean, I did, but not like this. The credits of the second movie had now ended and the TV had switched off, but me and Taylor were still awake, lying side by side on the bed, staring at the shadows that were cast across the ceiling thanks to the moonlight shining through the cracks in the curtains and the tree branches. Raven. Yet, I said, yawning as I rubbed my eyes sleepily. You know, when we were little. When I was weird and awkward, that shy kid no one wanted to know or play with, you used to always greet me and talk to me. You were not weird, you were cute and adorable, I said, trying to keep my eyes open. You'd think that. But you were this little, tiny girl, like the smallest one in the pack, and everyone used to say you had a growth issue. 'Cause you were like 6, wearing 2-year-old clothes. He said drowsily. Yet. I remember, I'm sure it was 3 years clothing. He chuckled sleepily. You were like a little doll. Walking and talking yet so doll-sized. Well, you always had this big smile on your face and always talked to me, complimenting me on what I was wearing, my hair, saying good morning. And although it was something small, it made my day. So, thank you, he yawned, turning onto his side to face me. I never even knew your name for many years, You didn't? I asked, turning my head to look at him. No, I used to call you the girl who looks like a doll, until I heard Liam calling you once. I'm older than you, but I was timid, and back then you were so brave. You still are. You're perfect and no matter what you do, I'm going to support you, okay? His eyes fluttered shut, and I yawned again. Thanks. I'll always support you too, I remembered saying before my eyes fluttered shut and sleep welcomed me into its folds. My eyes flew open, my heart pounding. I sat up, looking around the room, it took me a moment to realize I had fallen asleep at Taylor's. His back was to me and he was snoring lightly. I looked around the dark room, brushing my hair off my face. How had I woken up? Something didn't feel right. I slowly got off the bed, not wanting to disturb Taylor. I walked across the floor, careful not to step on the chocolate wrappers and rubbish that we had littered all over the floor, before I tiptoed to the window. Taylor had left the top one open to air the room that had smelled of takeout, but it was fairly silent outside. The distant sound of an animal and the rustle of the leaves in the trees were all that I could hear. I peered out past the tree that stood in the corner of Taylor's garden and my eyes fell on my old bedroom window that was just across from Taylor's. I was about to turn away when my wolf's uneasiness made me look back at my old house. Almost as if urging me to pay attention to it. She wanted me to go there. Why? I could feel her restlessness and I frowned, glancing back at Taylor, before I slowly unlocked the window and slid it up silently, flinching when it made a slight squeak. I paused as Taylor groaned and turned over, falling back to sleep. I blew out a breath and slowly climbed onto the ledge, lowering the window as much as possible behind me before I jumped to the ground below, landing lithely. I stood up straight, ignoring the sharp poking of the stones beneath my feet, and padded towards my parents' home, jumping over the low fence. Mom lived alone now, was she okay? My heart skipped a beat as a horrible thought came to my head. No, don't think like that, Raven. I walked around the house, my heart pounding despite trying to push that thought away. Should I just do the doorbell and see if she was okay? Wait, it's nighttime, she'll be asleep. I stared at the dark house, hesitating before I turned away, but once again my wolf's restlessness made me turn back. Since returning to the pack she was a little more active and I didn't want to shut her out if she was trying to tell me something. I needed to respect that. Okay, calm down, I'll mind link her. Mom. No answer, she was probably asleep. Mom. I tried pushing through that block, frowning at the fact I was drawing a blank. What the heck? Had she shut me out? Could she do that so strongly whilst sleeping? I turned, thinking to go do the doorbell. I was beginning to feel worried, maybe I'm just overreacting. No, wait, a sudden thought came to me and I padded around the house to the bathroom window, wondering if Dad ever got it fixed. I smiled when I saw the gap in it. Something that Mom always asked Dad to fix, seems like he never bothered. I scanned the ground, finding a decent-sized branch that I used to slip into the gap and pry up the dodgy handle. It was a small window but I'd fit. Grabbing onto it, I pulled myself onto the ledge and squeezed in, frowning. Just great, seems like the only place I had grown over the years was there. Stupid fat thighs. I pulled myself through, feeling the window. Finally, I managed to get in and blew out a breath. Yay! The cool bathroom tiles were pleasant beneath my feet as I made my way to the door, opening it ever so silently. Calming my heartbeat to minimize the sound of it. One look at Mom and then we were back out of here. She never needed to know I had been here. I made my way down the dark hall, the scent of pumpkin spice lingered in the hall and I smiled sadly. It was Mom's favorite smell, year in and year out. She'd stock up on the festive scented candles in the winters and use them throughout the entire year. I was careful, making sure to stay towards the wall. The floorboards didn't creak so much where they were hardly stepped on. Years of sneaking out really does help. I went up the stairs as silently as I could. Glancing down the hallway, I could see the door to Mom's room was open and I frowned. Did she leave it open because Dad wasn't here? Wait, I refused to call him Dad. The entire house was dark, and it was a little cold too, I felt my stomach twist. Wasn't she taking care of herself? I silently made my way down the hall, frowning when I didn't hear a heartbeat. Wait, had she left the pack or something? Was that why my wolf was worried? After all, it had a link to family. I rushed to the door, pushing it open, expecting to see a half-empty room. I froze at the smell of blood that filled my nose. My eyes snapped to the silhouette of someone under the sheets on the bed. My heart pounded as fear and panic settled within me. Alarm bells going off. No heartbeat, blood. Was that Mom? I asked, my voice shaky as I edged closer to the bed. Please be a prank. Please tell me I'm wrong. Mom. I whimpered, sounding terrified. Stay strong, Raven. My entire body was shaking involuntarily, I couldn't breathe properly. I reached out with a trembling hand for the sheets. Mom's scent and the stench of fresh blood now overrode my senses. I couldn't bring myself to lower them, my chest was heaving. I'm scared. Liam, I whimpered through the link, he was probably asleep. What is it, love? Are you okay? Worry and concern were clear in his voice, but the warmth of just hearing him made me feel an inch braver. It was a struggle to reply, as I yanked the bedding back. My mouth widened in a silent scream and I stumbled back, my breathing ragged as I stared at the horrifying scene before me. No, please goddess, no. There lay Mom with blood-stained bedding under her, her empty mouth hanging wide open, slit from ear to ear, her teeth were gone and where her eyes should have been were two gaping sockets. Raven, where are you? Liam's voice snapped me out of my horror-struck state. Liam. Mom, I trailed off when the sudden feeling of being watched overcame me. The hair at the back of my neck stood up and my heart thundered. I whipped around, but I was too late. Something struck my head, a searing pain erupted through it, and before I could even recover or react, I felt a stinging pain in my neck. Then everything went dark. Or if you want to pay for more such audiobooks, you can send us a request in a private Facebook group, or join us on WhatsApp, a link is given in the video description. The rest of the audiobooks will be uploaded in the next episode. Join us on Patreon to listen to more unlimited audiobooks.